Alright, half a day response video. Not on a terribly important singular subject, but I certainly can elaborate and make it into something bigger. Yeah, I can multiply its magnitude. So the turning force or leverage or torque. Yeah. Torque doesn't really get to the fact that you can somehow split, jobs. Say you have to lift these 4 batteries, but they weigh more than you can lift together. But you can somehow, through these little cheats, turn into 4 jobs where you just lift 4 10-pound things instead of one 40-pound thing. And that's sort of what all these gimmicks allow you to do. The lever, the simplest one. And then you got pulleys, and then you got gears, and there's probably, I think that's probably all of them, but well, whatever. Actually turning, rolling, which gets into all kinds of interesting ways you can, do rolling, and where you can move something's center of gravity to make it manipulatable, to give it a weightlessness of sorts. If you can balance something on a pinhead, perfectly balanced, it's very easy to move it in any direction. Because you don't have to lift it, obviously. So anyway, no friction. So he's kind of hunting for the best metaphor. I guess that's sort of what the challenge is a good way of describing or making it simple to explain why all these mechanisms work. The lever and the gears and pulleys. And I would say the easiest way, I think, to understand it is to think of it in terms of the inclined plane, because that's what the lever is sort of doing in a way. So if you think about an inclined plane 90 degrees, then you sort of get that you have to lift 100 pounds straight up, and so you have to lift 100 pounds. And then for every little bit you incline the plane, the longer the distance you change the roll to, so you can roll it up the incline, and you've lengthened the amount of time you have to do that, and gravity's not hurting you because the force to roll back down isn't nearly as strong as the force down. So it's not working against you as it does clearly when you're doing this. The deadlift, your gravity's working against you the whole time, so now time is really important, where time this way is less important. It becomes less and less important the more inclined the plane becomes, the less and less important how much time you take to roll it. So in the end you get the same amount of energy out, and you've moved a certain amount of weight a certain height, but by taking more time to do it, you've broken the amount of weight. So time essentially allows you to break something into pieces and do them one at a time, 10 pounds at a time. But I guess to me that's the easiest way to get it directly, is the lever is essentially the inclined plane, and it's just so much easier to roll something up a hill than it is to have to lift it up the hill. At least, I think the principles are intact. I don't think rolling is essentially a cheat in any way. It just changes lift into smaller increments. It allows you to turn the lift into little pieces, little bites of lift. And again, you take more time. Because say if you deadlifted something slowly, it's going to feel like more work because gravity's going to be working against you longer. So the other thing about levers that I've found anyway is that obviously the weight of the lever starts to work to your advantage. So if you have a pivot point here and you have a heavy lever like a steel bar, which I've used, the added weight of the lever actually cut some of your work down for you, because you've obviously have this very lopsided center of gravity on your lever. So if you have a heavy enough lever, the lever itself could do the job. You don't have to do any work at all. Obviously, you just tie weights to the lever, but then you have to lift the weights. So blah 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 blah. But yeah, I mean, technically, you have to lift the lever into place. So you're again still doing the same amount of work. It's just that you put the work in ahead of time to get work out. You've preloaded a system. So I guess you could say when the weight of the lever is a preloaded bit of torque in the other direction. So yeah, it's interesting to chase all of the energy equations. So the stuff that got me thinking about was, because it's a time issue, is resonance, and how that's storage of momentum. If you can get something wobbling, you can also make it move quite easily because you can eliminate all the friction. Probably some other examples of that kind of storage, but I mean that's the trapping argument, so it goes to my advantage for my theory in the sense that resonance is just showing you what trapping looks like, because you get internal reflections, and if you maintain those reflections, that's real energy you're storing in a system, and it can do real work. And it's just doing it because energy went in, but energy doesn't come out right away. And so you can see that with all of these time-dependent resonant phenomena, which really just have to do with the fact that if nothing destructively interferes, then there isn't any need to heat anything or to, in other ways, destroy the energy. So the energy can be held if you can keep it from destructively interfering. So if you can keep it all harmonically compatible, you can store a lot of energy in a system that's just vibrating, and in turn convert those vibrations into moving a wheel by just making like the inside of a watch, just make a one-way system, and you can turn a bunch of this into a motion going around. So you could put energy in very slowly, get a bunch of resonant storage, and then just tap the resonant storage to get the work out. So that to me would more complete the understanding of the fact that this is just a matter of force in and time. And you can load a system. So just like you can load a battery, slowly pump the crap in, and then fairly quickly pull the crap out. And what went in looks like less. It's the same, but it looks like less than what comes out. And such. So I'll keep my video also brief. Yeah, well, we'll see. I'll pause and see if there's anything I need to add. Well, I guess I could add a little bit about, again, how you can put in a lot more energy over time to get a certain amount of product out. So you could argue that some of the energy in tipping something, like say you want to roll a square, you have to put energy in going both directions to get it tipping, so you can rock it over, that kind of thing. So you end up putting more energy in. There's going to be a lot of waste, but it'll get the job done, in the sense that maybe the Egyptians did it that simply. They just got everything rocking and just let everything tip. They say Easter Island, that's pretty much the theory, that they moved the little head guys by just tying ropes and getting them to start wobbling. Once they're wobbling, then you can wobble them this way, and then wobble them that way, and then wobble them, and eliminate all the friction. So I mean, it's another use of the power of. See, it's not a direct use. It's really there's two different things you're fighting, right? You're fighting the raw immovability of things against gravity, the foot-pounds of pressure, and then you're talking about the other thing would be friction in terms of moving a heavy weight that has a lot of surface area. Those are really very different things, so they probably shouldn't be compared to each other. It's funny that people who lived where there was a lot of ice didn't make giant things and just, because they could just slide them on the ice, right? I mean, have a huge advantage in terms of moving stuff around, but no ice people ever made anything big and interesting. Stonehenge, maybe, right? There might have been some ice there, maybe. Because certainly that would be something you could take advantage of. I mean, you could pack the snow and then water it and make ice roads and such, probably. But anyway, it's tangential. Boats, the Egyptians' boats are very good for moving stuff too, so they probably did all that boat canal-y thing. Who knows? Maybe they just moved rocks in canals. They made rock canals. A sluice. I mean, maybe they were cleverer than people think, because I guess if you think about it, you could make a trench that was just the right size, and but the incompressibility of the water is still going to shoot out, so it's not going to do you much good. Heavy rock, you're going to need a big boat. Anyway, you need a lot of buoyancy, deep water. Anyway, so that's what gets you into trouble. You pause and then you think about other crap that you didn't really think through. So it's just kind of a waste. Sand is very rolly. I mean, you could just throw a bunch of sand down, on boards, and things will slide on the sand pretty good. But anyway, so the friction argument is completely different than the foot-pound torque gear ratio argument. So again, yes. So the simple analogy is the inclined plane. This, lots of hard work. This, same amount of work, but you get to take your time, which makes it a lot easier. You get to take it in little pieces. It basically cuts the object into, things that are, the batteries work is very good because it's round. It turns lifting this up into just rolling these, and you can just sort of obviously just breaks it into pieces that you can just easily roll, where the perpendicular plane, the rolling isn't going to help you any. So that's about it, I think. I imagine some forces of tension, the elasticity of the lever is also in play in some of this stuff. I mean, you get some advantage out of the spring loading of the lever. If it bends a little, it might be to your advantage. As the tension travels through it, might be, I don't know. That's probably a dangerous thing to say, because that's going to just balance out in the end. You'll just end up with as much tension on this side as this side, and it's just a bunch of extra tension that you put into the frickin' thing that you're not going to use. So forget that. You're better off with a very stiff lever. Yeah, I still have some kind of hope that the tension would travel through the lever, but it's not going to get into the little piece you need it to, right at the center of the fulcrum. So, yeah, it's not going to help you any. Alright, so now that's probably enough of a video. Yeah, a little bit of extra useless bit, consistent with general performance here and such. Until next time.